Hello everyone, my name is Karel Mergel and today I am hosting this Q&A session with NCWEBDEV's partner, Jason Ho. Jason has very extensive knowledge about life insurance because he accomplished a lot in the business for 20 years and now he got into digital marketing. He's been our partner for about 6 months now and he's had great success teaching and learning about digital marketing. So today he is going to be talking about his experiences and some great tips for you that he has learned. Now, without further ado, let's get into the questions. So the first question is, why is online visibility so important?
If you were to have a pizzeria in an area and somebody was looking to eat some pizza and they Google you or they look on Google Maps, and if you have zero digital footprint, well, chances are they're not going to be able to find you. So visibility, it's really, really huge to think about. Because again, a lot of times, more likely than not, your competitors will have a website or they'll do some form of digital marketing, meaning you are going to be pretty much behind. Because at the end of the day, again, if you are just not marketing at all digitally, you're really not tapping into a market. You're losing a lot of it, especially in the younger crowds. So something to think about. If let's say problem number one, you don't have a website, well, definitely give us a call because we definitely need to help you with that, and we'll definitely do a great job for you.
All right, next question. Why are unique website names important?
So there's a pizzeria in New York City that's really famous called Ray's Pizza. The problem here, there are probably 30 Ray's Pizza. So I remember that when I had guests visiting us, she said, "Well, I heard about this Ray's Pizza, but I don't know which one it is." Well, there's the other problem. If your name is very similar to everybody else's name, something to think about in terms of not necessarily have to rename your company, but rather maybe change up to what the website can be.
Okay, now, why is security so crucial to a website?
Some websites are used just strictly for marketing, for advertising, maybe is to draw people to an event and have a login page or something like that, or maybe it's just a website to talk about who you are. But there are a lot of people who use the websites for transactions. Again, whether you're a restaurant business, whether you do something on eBay or Etsy or something like that, and you're using your website as a storefront, well, if you do that and you don't have any kind of security, well, that becomes a huge problem because now clients are, entering very private information, their home address, their credit card information. Again, if you don't have any kind of secure measures on your website, you're opening up quite a big can of worms because you don't want to be in a situation where, of course, will attack happen? Chances are maybe not, but in case it does, well, what happens to your client's information? And if they're able to trace it back where you're essentially were the leak to that, then that really causes a huge problem for you and your company. Whether it's lawsuits, whether it's bad press, whatever the case may be. Think about all the times we hear on the news about somebody that had XYZ information leaked out, or clients, 10,000 email addresses leaked out. It's really a huge problem. Now, if you're a large corporations with lawyers and that with maybe a long history, maybe not a problem. But I would imagine a lot of people here today are really small business owners. So all it really takes is one bad publicity or one bad situation where essentially it might kill your business. So security, it's something really important to think about.
Good. So what if your website is already secured?
Not everyone knows this. Well, it's like, well, Jason, I do have security. Let's use an example of, well, let's say I have put a lock on the door, I have an alarm system, and everything is set, right? I'm secure, Jason. I'm gonna worry about this anymore. Unfortunately, no, because hackers, number one, they never sleep. A lot of these guys are very sophisticated, and while you may be protected for the time, for the right now, unfortunately, you're not protected forever because the way the technology is, things are growing at such a fast rate. So that's why, again, if you do work with web designers, typically they'll be looking at your website, every 30 days to make sure everything is updated. If the case there's any new changes being made. So let's say you're somebody that hasn't used us as a service, you have somebody else, and your team has never talked about security updates, not even once. that's typically a red flag of that you're working with somebody that you may want to think about not working with anymore because they're not doing what they need to do to protect you guys. Again, the things we do is, you're a client for us for life. As long as you work with us, we'll be taking care of you for until your business, your website. As long as your website is still with us, we'll always be looking out for you.
Cool. Now, how about metrics?
A lot of people don't like to hear this word because maybe you work with a bad boss and they measured every little thing you have done, what time you checked in, what time you clocked out, how many times you went to the bathroom, how many phone calls you made, how many sales you made. It sounds like a really bad word, but metric is something that you should, as a business owner, look at yourself, because again, not to impress somebody else, is to really figure out as well, is my current strategy doing well? Is my business doing well? How many things have I sold? How many more clients have I seen? Metrics are important. So websites are pretty much the same idea. You have to have a form of metrics. And I would pretty much bet that a lot of you guys today here, who have a website, you don't look at metrics. You don't really know how many people are visiting your website on a daily basis, a monthly basis, an annual basis. If you sell things on your website, I don't know how many of you actually know how many sales are coming from your website. We had a client where she was selling books on her website, her own personal book. She was an author. And we looked at her website. Website looked fine. It was created something about 15 years ago. But realistically, she hasn't really done anything from it. And when we approached her originally, we asked about our services and what we did. And she said, well, Jason, I already have a website, so I really don't need help with that. And we kind of looked through our website, and I used GT metrics. I asked a lot of fact-finding questions. But really the nuts of it all is, hey, you have a website. That's fantastic. That's great. How many sales are you getting from this website? And more often than not, the client doesn't quite know because, she's done it on her website. She has, from the conferences she spoke at, she probably has an Amazon store, she maybe a physical bookstore. So she never knew quite where everything was. So we actually dug into it. She realized that a lot of it wasn't really coming from her website, which she was shocked about. So the most obvious question she asked us next was, well, what can I do to improve this? So website design is such a broad topic. And ultimately, we talk about a lot of things. So one of the things I'll be doing the next couple of weeks is I'll be reaching out to you guys because all I want to do is quick 5-minute fact finding because, if your website is perfect, then for sure. Then you have nothing to worry about, right? But if there's something we can do to help you to generate better revenue, it's really worth to, again, I'm only looking for 5 to 10 minutes, relatively short questions, right? And one of the things I will ask you during this fact finding is metrics. Do you have any metrics? Because if you said something like, well, Jason, I sold 5 books on my website last year, I'll ask you, okay, so what would you like to do? If your goal is to sell 10 books, then that's fine, right? That's relatively easy. But if you say, well, Jason, I sold 5 last year, but I want to sell 20,000 this year, then it becomes, we want to set expectations, right? We're good. I'm good, but I'm not that good. It takes someone from a 5 book sale to 20,000 because it really in steps, right? But again, the important thing here is that ultimately what we'll ask for is metrics because we want to make sure that we want to show you what you're currently doing, and I want to show you how you can improve in a sensible way.
Great. Could you tell us about the time where you were looking through that one website and you couldn't really figure out what it was about?
I had a guy where he I believe it was in plastics or something, and I looked through his whole website, his about page, and after about 20 minutes of me sitting there, I couldn't quite figure out what this guy was doing. And I finally called him and said, hey, my name is Jason Ho. I do this and this and this. Hey, man, I just got a real quick question for you. What do you guys do? And the client was like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm on your website, and this is what we do. We help with digital marketing and website designs. And I got to tell you, man, as somebody that's probably not in your business, and I would imagine most of your clients are not in your business, I have no idea what you guys do. And he had a little laugh and he talked about it. I said, well, one thing you want to think about is, it's good to have a website, right? But sometimes people do it just to have a check mark off a list, right? Have a logo, check. Have a company name, check. Have a website, check. They don't put a lot of thought into it. They say, I got it, and that's all I think about. But again, when people are looking you up, they're Googling you, they're looking, they're trying to figure out what you do. That's why, having a really good design is helpful.
Okay, so now what about the significance of creating websites for smartphones?
In today's world, everyone's moving. For example, I'm not home right now. I don't have my, I'm actually in a hotel and about to head out. Most people, they don't really have the time to sit at home and do all the work. A lot of time we're on the road or walking around, and that's where we do a lot of our research and stuff, right? So, you know, I remember the first time I had an iPhone. It was the original iPhone 1. And I've never seen this thing before. And this is before the technology is really there, right? People still trying to figure it out. I remember I tried to go on a couple of these websites I usually normally go on. And it was just the formatting on my screen just made no sense. And it's because the website wasn't really built for mobile. But that was probably about 10, 15 years ago. So in today's world, a lot of clients, unfortunately, they build a website, which is fine, but they built it for their for people's laptops or computers or what the case may be. They're not built for mobile. So is your website function? I will even use function because sometimes it doesn't even function well. But does your website function or look good on a mobile phone device? If the answer is no, then again, that's something that we could definitely help you with.
Okay, and finally, how are restaurant sanitation grades similar to website ratings?
So I remember the time I took a trip to California, and it was a time when restaurants' ratings were starting to come up, and I knew nothing about this stuff. I had no idea what these grades meant. But after a couple of weeks in California, I realized that if you are at least not an A, not even B's are struggling. If you are not an A restaurant, most people wouldn't come to you, and a lot of times the restaurants will just shut down themselves. So before the state even does it. And I remember when this thing came to New York, I remember, New York had a fantastic food. There's, anyone that visits New York probably think of 10, 20 restaurants that they had their minds blown. But I remember the first time those gradings came. And it was shocking to see some of my favorite restaurants didn't last much longer after, they got their rating and it was, C or worse. I think you couldn't even get lower than a B. B's pretty much like, hey, you got to shape up or else it's over. And it was shocking, but it was a relatively good thing because we soon realized that a lot of these restaurants maybe not the cleanest in the world. Maybe those days I got sick was maybe not because of something else. Maybe it was something I ate or whatever it may be. But why it's important is that until there was an actual something, right, that people could rate their restaurant on a scale and put a standard down, things got better after that. It's the same thing with all our businesses. If there's nothing, if there's nobody helping you, giving you constructive feedback on your website. Again, we're not here to, demean you in any way. It's really about, here's where we can help you, right? Here's the price points. We'll love to increase your business in some way, but be open to the idea of just having open dialogue with somebody who wants to look at your website and in the eyes of trying to make you guys look better than you already are. That's our goal, is to take the website you have and make it better, right? Take something that you did, 10, 15, 20 years ago and upgrade it into today's standard.
Okay, that was it for this Q&A session, and I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you will tune into next week's video, which will be posted on the Gloomer Productions YouTube channel. And until then, have a fantastic week and take care.